Check this out. We got a special episode of Drawing with Lane happening right now. Yeah, this is awesome. We're going back through, reviewing the videos from the last couple days. So good. Better than ever. I've been continuing to practice and to develop favorite ideas after rewatching the Digimon video, and you don't have to watch that to get value from this. There's a bit where I talk about not waiting to take on your most valuable, most cherished, most exciting projects. And that's what this is for me right now. This is an idea for EverGlow Chronicles, our Terraria-esque adventure, survival, exploration, and building game. A game that's about building things, a game that's about collaboration and teamwork and exploring these awesome, expansive worlds filled with mythic creatures, an almost endless amount of items, and infinite amount of stock to create in your own world. Make it your own, build your perfect base, but to capture the sense of adventure. To capture the sense of adventure in ways that Minecraft and Terraria uniquely do, and bringing in some of the most powerful, awesome gameplay mechanics and design from the entire world and history of games. Yeah? So we're thinking of what can you do on top of that build. I'm amazed. It's been like 15 years or something since Minecraft dropped, and there hasn't been many things. The other game is like Terraria, and it's a whole different type of game. It's a whole different type of game that I love as a long-term, die-hard fan of the side-scrolling game. For the longest time when I was a kid, video games were like side-scrolling games. Then came The Legend of Zelda, but even still, Mario and Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, all of the games that introduced me to video games as a whole came left to right, sometimes right to left, in an open world exploration. You know, this just says games to me. And getting the opportunity to play some Terraria and to get to check out the amazing selection of mod packs in Terraria, I was amazed. It's still really cool. I remember playing Terraria back in the day. You know, this doesn't have to be back in the day, but it was like, 2016, 2017 for me for the first time. I think it was really cool. But yet, like, the first exploration into this type of game, world, I was like, I can't wait till someone, like, expands on this and does a Terraria with different art style, with different characters, with more random events, with maybe elements of story, with elements of different characters. I loved the way everything was random, the way every single thing in this world was random and came to life as you moved through the world. That reminds me of some of my favorite parts of video games, you know? The idea that your game is uniquely your own, that when you enter the game world, whether you go up, down, left, or right, or just stay center where you started, is up to you. So it gives the freedom of choice, the freedom of choice and the sense of exploration, and then even beyond the choice, to start introducing random elements into play, where there is signature elements that is going to set your game world apart step by step by step. You craft a unique adventure and character. Your file becomes a reflection of you, and a reflection of you in a unique moment in time. You know, something that even if you introduce enough random elements, is going to be a snowflake in the vast world of people playing this game and immersing themselves in these adventures. They're going to end up becoming unique and uniquely cherished. And with that game idea in mind, the whole thing kind of came to life after playing some Terraria and then playing Dead Cells. Dead Cells and Terraria were like the two games that I was playing at the time. And if you haven't checked out Dead Cells for a while, they use a graphics engine that lets you choose a whole bunch of different types of characters. Now, it appears to be pixelated and sprite-based in a beautiful tribute to classic games, but they use a kind of technology to use a filter on basic 3D models. They use a filter, which means nothing is ever quite the same, and that gives you the ability to create an endless amount of complex animations without having to hand animate every single one. Although I think we should hand animate every single one in their own way. With the advent of AI, I don't know, some people get skeptical when you start mentioning AI, but some things that it enables us to do are super, super cool. One of them is highly sophisticated filters, like animated filters that makes each, like, you know, fractions of a second in the animation into their own frame that's rendered in their own way. To be able to do this from like video that you take and to make it like an animated thing, to the amazing stuff that Grok is doing now, bringing single images to life in under a minute. It's crazy, it's fun. But when you talk about making a game world uniquely beautiful, that is something that I can really get behind. And, you know, it's not like we just tell the computer to do it, you know? It's something that's hand engineered. The art style, thick black outlines, beautifully rendered pixels, layers of different filters and effects like glow and particle and shading effects, real-time shading effects as you walk or run under trees that would, you know, catch the form of your character, glow effects as you hit different light and torches and mythic gateways. All these things could be added to this sense of adventure. You know, I want to make it free to play, a game for the entire world to share that could thrive off of microtransactions. And sometimes microtransactions get a bad name as well, but something that gives you a full and deep gameplay experience without you having to pay anything. And if you want to, you can invest just what little bit of money that you have. And over time, players will end up investing a lot, but they invest money into the game as the game gives them value. And it's always up to them how much they want to invest. It's not going to be a kind of thing that's like, is not fun. It's not fun unless you spend money on it. But if it's the most fun thing that you're playing, that you have going for you right now, and all of your friends have it as well, you'd be like, yo, my weekly allowance of $5 or whatever, you know, if there's a kid is going into this game. Now, 5 times 50, you know, $250 a year. If they want, maybe not, or if you're a successful person that had like over $100,000 in the bank, maybe you got millions of dollars in the bank, and you're like, not only is this game awesome, you could spend however much money on it you wanted. But a game that would immerse you in the full value and playability, just so that it's something that no one would miss out on, something awesome and different and complementary enough to all games on the market that it would add something to the ecosystem of games. Yeah, something that touches all of these different worlds and in its own unique way, but to create a space to share with your friends and loved ones, you know, to create an adventure where you make the adventure joking around on voice chat while you share these different tasks and accomplishments, you know, quests and characters as they come in, but getting to share the space as you build your own perfect creations, your bases, your shrines, your hubs, your village, your mansions, your castle, whatever it is that you want to make together. Games like Terraria and Minecraft can already be super expansive, super expansive, but both of those were made on an incredibly independent budget, almost no money other than, you know, the time and the energy that it took to make these wonders, these marvels, these miracles of design. If you were to invest in the popularity of this game type and the popularity of games to crowdfund or privately fund the most awesome production we could possibly take on. And from the beginning of the concept, from the, conception of this game, to imagine the size that we can dream of for this project. So not only do you come into one singular world, to explore and to build, to define, to discover, you complete your world eventually. You take your world to whatever the fullest level of completion is yet. You collect the world stone, and then you use the stone that you get at the end of the world to open a gateway to another world. And in that way, it's not just like a new game plus, in a sense, more difficult enemies, more things to capture, different tiers of worlds that builds on what you have started. But each world has a number of different environments, which are called biomes in games, a number of different environments, biomes, to explore, yeah? And out of 16, 25 different biomes of different colors and variations with unique monster spawns and chances of finding different characters in each biome, with a base world seed that could change all of the biomes on rotation. If you find a haunted world, if you find an exceedingly rare world, something enchanted, there's a lot of, so you become, from being the master of this one world to being a world traveling, world rift jumping explorer, that travels between worlds. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. That was the point in my mind where the game kind of took off, though. The idea of having the RNG, when you open chests, it could be so many different things that there'd be a lot of different rare drops. There's a moment when you're playing Terraria, almost any time you're playing a Terraria world with your friends, you'll find something kind of rare. And they're like, yo, that's a good drop for this point in the game world. It makes it fun. It makes it cool. But, eventually it becomes quite set. The original feeling of wonder that you get as you play Terraria is something that you go into and that we want to capture. Eventually it will become like, okay, all of the ropes, but even once you've learned the ropes, even once you know what's coming and most of the strategies and elements that build a Terraria world, there's still a lot of depth and complexity, a surprising amount. And it's always fun to play with your friends and loved ones, to share this space, to see how much you can fine tune and to streamline going through this game. And even if you've played Terraria dozens of times, it still has a value to come back and to re-immerse yourself in this world, in this space that few games have. Okay, we'll kind of go on from here because I do want to explain and to be honest to my initial partners and potential fans, as we're presenting for this game, what was the inspiration, and to give you a good idea of where it comes from and the dream of this thing. I mean, I'm sure Terraria used many, many ideas from Minecraft, even from the cloth to chain to steel armor and the ingots that you get to craft each next degree of equipment, to getting blocks from each thing that you mine, and then the ability to remix and shuffle them, and then classic games. And between classic games and Minecraft created a unique build. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do with this game world, this idea, this concept, this pitch, this perfect project, that I truly believe in so much. Like all of my favorite projects, dreaming of this thing was very much like, I would love to see this game. This would be awesome. Dead Cells is doing so many things in terms of movement, in terms of graphics, in terms of the complexity of the combat. And eventually you move really, really fast and you're running and jumping through it. The same way in Terraria, first you start just walking and then you get unique items and abilities that give you different types of movement. In Dead Cells, it's pretty much just one thing. We'd want to bring in that depth and diversity of design. So not only is your world yours, but there's a great sense of progression, going from the beginning to this massively high, Goku Super Saiyan, super level character that could take everything, and there's so many steps on that journey. And there's also decisions that make that journey your own, you know? But again, just to mention, we haven't mentioned this enough, I don't think, that the game world is your own. It's the adventure that you make. It's the adventure you make with your friends. We're creating a space for players to exist. We're not trying to grab every second of their attention. But like Zelda Breath of the Wild and other amazing titles with a sense of ambiance, we're giving people a space to breathe, you know, to a stress-relieving space where you can go on an adventure and fight, and there will be lots of, you know, fantastic, you know, adrenaline-filled moments out there and challenges. But if you want to just chill in a beautiful space that you have handcrafted and curated with your friends, you know, to share time and space, and Terraria is a game that everyone can enjoy, you know? It's not even geared to kids, I don't think. You know, maybe a younger audience, but they definitely took this is a game for everyone. You know, this is a game for everyone to enjoy. This is a game that's uniquely valuable. You see so many different types of streamers playing the game. And if you and your friends, you know, scale the conversations to whatever level of maturity, you know, well, it becomes something that's fun, stimulating, interesting, visually striking, and awesome. You know, like, not only was this a game that I wanted to see, that my past self would have loved more than anything, that, you know, but it's something that I would love to play now. I'd love to play now with my friends, with my little brother and sister, but I mean, this thing, as cool as it would be, I would want to play with all of my friends. No lie. It's just like, it's the coolest. And to give you a space to chill, if you like gaming like me, you like Death Stranding, you like Elden Ring, you like all kinds of different games, like, it's nice to have a place that is a little bit more chill. To have a place that's a little bit more chill, you know, like with a vibe of almost like a Miyazaki movie, you know? Sometimes maybe capturing Miyazaki movie vibes, but with a sense of retro games, you know? Old RPGs, retro games, a pleasant yet adventurous atmosphere that you can then shape and build with your friends. You make the perfect kingdom, you set out on the perfect quests, and you find out what this world has in store for you. Yeah, I feel like the, you know, problem might be kids getting lost in this game for weeks at a time. But I think it would be, you know, master crafted and healthy enough. Kids are going to be getting lost in something for weeks at a time. I don't think it would be that bad or worse than anything that's out there, you know, just like if it would be so cool. This would be a pretty good place to get lost in. Find yourself again. There's a lot of idea for value created for Twitch streamers and stream communities as each world takes on a unique shape. Yeah, each world takes on a unique shape. Then being able to share that as you're jumping around to your favorite Twitch streamers and what have you, it's not like you're watching everyone play the same game. Yes, technically they are. But step by step by step, their worlds would gain unique presence and personality and visual appeal, as not only do you gain items that help you progress through the world, but some items would change the appearance of your gear or give you the opportunity to do different animations and emotes. So you're given some degree of customization to the visual style of the game. Yeah, as you're collecting screen caps of what all of your most rare drops are and sharing them on your social media. Yeah. You'd have unique animations and to do with your friends at key moments. We almost have to take something out here to do an animation. Here. Just have someone with their hand up to say hello. And we'll go through a number of different designs. We already have a lot of fun designs here for potential characters, potential creatures, and some environments. And getting the ball rolling there, we've developed all of these skills quite a bit. And I'm always like, yeah, this would be a great project to take on sometime. This is another project that I truly and honestly do not think that it could fail. If you tried to develop it as we're breaking into it here, and expand on that, I don't think this project could honestly fail. And I think it has no upwards cap of potential value, potential popularity, and success. Like truly, the sky is the limit. And it's called for. It's something that is called for. Not only does the mod community of Terraria speak to that, but the amount of people that still play Terraria after having explored and discovered everything there is, in the game world. It's such a cool game type. It's one of the, best selling and highest grossing games of all time for a reason. It's not just addictive or satisfying, but there is a unique sense of value and appreciation that you gain immersing yourself in this world. It's very fun in a lot of different ways that few games are. Capturing, retro games, adventure games, Minecraft elements, but with a unique flavor that sets it apart from all of them. Yeah? A soundtrack that keeps you coming back. It's one of the most memorable games in modern, memory, and in our, let's see, make it their character here. And it's really fun to customize your character in Terraria. There's almost nothing that you can do with it. I mean, there's a number of different hairstyles that vary pixel to pixel, and a number of different kind of aesthetic options that change the color and a little bit of the pattern on your gear. I mean, you can really be decked out in maybe hundreds of different things. You can't see the change that dramatically, or once you've found the sunglasses and a badass robe, you've kind of capped it, You're like, oh, okay, I'm captain of my world after a little bit of ways in. And you wish there's a way that you could do that again, you could uncap your world and, to continue to expand and to glow up. Aesthetic customization is something that I really, really love in games. It's something that I really love. And we're thinking what you could do with that Dead Cells technology maximized to the fullest. Yeah, what could you do with all of the power in your hands for the largest amount of items, the greatest depth and diversity of design, while elemental, impactful, and powerful, Already thinking what we could do with technology to bring all the filters in the world to life. I love the idea of the game being pixel perfect and a tribute to old games everywhere, but also glowing with effects that change based on all kinds of world events like weather and lighting, very complex and sophisticated lighting, but in a way that animates it and makes it simple, to run that depth of complexity through an engine that makes it part of the world and that gives the world to you, the player, an unpretentious game, It gives you a place to explore. Very simple to understand at first, and the movement left to right and the taking on first basic tasks and learning to build, to, very deep to continue to learn things and pick things up. Like easy to pick up, difficult to master is sort of the magic formula in game design. It always has been, and now more than ever with so many different types of games. Like Kojima said, oftentimes the games look the same. We've seen it all, and everyone is emulating each other. There was a game that was kind of like, it was a Terraria-like game at the Games Fest last year. And I was making this for, guess what, 2 years before, dreaming of this, coming up with designs and plans for, 2 years beforehand. The one mechanic, though, that they did show off was not having blocks exactly, but being able to tunnel in layers and create your own shape of tunnel. One of the things that I thought of for this game, and yes, I have it written in a journal somewhere. We'll show that off later. But compared to everything we have on the table, I consider this like a tertiary element, you know? The blocks are still kind of important, but to not use a block setup would be more important than in making tunnels, in making builds, in making houses and castles, and to be able to, you know, have more different types of things with a really good coordination and categorization so that you could have hundreds and hundreds of different items and not lose track of all of them in your base, and to sort through them really quickly and to streamline the design so that you could make the shape of it. And then if there's different aesthetics, right? Like once you have the shape of your building laid out, whether it's Japanese style or Norse or some kind of enchanted elven-esque, you know, what type of walls and builds and patterns and textures you use to make it your own and how you combine them together, it wouldn't be arduous. It wouldn't be like a ragged journey through an endless series of menus, but you know, you'd get the hang of it. And it's made to be user-friendly, but I also like games, and everyone likes games that don't tell you everything, that it's not an endless series of you're supposed to go here and do this. It's a game you can take on and explore and discover on your own, you know, like a game without a lengthy tutorial that throws you into a world and you just start to appreciate and explore this space. Yeah. All right, we'll do a little bit of drawing here. You know, this game, the more you think about it, it is missing. It is missing from the modern gaming landscape, you know? And it's not like there's nothing we can do about it, you know? There is every day something that we can do about it, with thousands and thousands of, tens of thousands of amazing technicians of design, of engineers, of story, and, you know, the hustlers of the mechanics of game design and the composition of winning elements in new shapes and forms. Yeah, everyone is trying to turn and come up with winning games every day, and to try and, you know, make a name for themselves and carve a place in the ever-changing world of game design. And people want to make awesome games and make awesome worlds. Sometimes I feel like that element of game design might be understated. Sometimes, you know, the importance of just wanting to create the experience of magic and to be inspired by the experience of magic and creativity and wonder, you know, the kind of wonder that you have when you're a kid that some people might lose, that as an artist, you work, you know, tirelessly to try and recapture that sense of wonder and magic and imagination that doesn't just take the world as it is, but dreams to imagine the world for what it could be. Yeah? And once you do, you know, the possibilities are indeed endless. And it's like, you know, it's like the ability to dream and to think of the world as magical and awesome and, you know, also full of responsibility, that you take on a role where you're at, but you can accomplish great things if you set yourself to them, is a good thing to have in your mind, you know? It's good to give someone independence and prowess. If you want to learn something, like read the books, immerse yourself in whatever it is that you want to learn. You know, you can change the world, and we do change the world every day. And even if you're not changing the world in some bold and dynamic way, every time you hang out with your friends, you're changing their lives. You know, if you hang out with your friends over time and over the years, then you significantly change their lives. You become an element they couldn't think of the world without. If you're an artist, an entertainer, a performer, someone with, you know, social media presence and clout, you become someone that is a part of everyone's world, you know, that changes their, you know, perception of themselves maybe, that they take for granted, but you sharing your joy and experiences and the vote that you cast on the future matters so much. Don't get intimidated or anything, but get into the wild, you know, fact that you can have this creative malleability to the world around you, and you can be a positive force for good and of a change of whatever is your preference, to be able to, you know, cast the die and to vote on what you want to see and to try and make that vote good, a world that works for everyone, but a world that empowers everyone, a world that is there for everyone to celebrate, and it's good to have things to celebrate, right? Like, as we're working towards creating the best world possible, yeah, a world on the verge of renaissance, but there's still a lot of work to do. And we want to help all the people in crisis. We want to help people get out of crisis. We want to help avert crisis before it happens again. It's important to have a place to relax and to have an inspiring place to relax. Yeah, something fun, something that captures the imagination. And I think of like Pendleton Ward playing this game, Jonah and Vasquez playing this game, all kinds of different people, everyone that I follow. I'm not just going to list everyone that I follow and all the artists and designers and entertainers and such. There's so many people out there, and everyone that I've met, all of my friends, I can imagine their unique experiences and the looks on their faces. It fills me with joy. Yeah, everyone from all kinds of different walks of life. A game for everyone. A game that parents could play with their kids if they wanted, that they would be able to get it in terms of the retro game design, move back and forth like Mario. Yeah, you talk with the action button. Yeah, no, not that button, that button. And then you get it. You get into it, It becomes a space you could bond over. Your cousins, uncles, anyone. Friends that have fallen out of touch with each other. Yeah, friends that are just coming back online. If you're going through something difficult, a bad breakup, a loss, losing a pet even, who knows what kind of curveballs life throw you. But to have a space to decompress is one of those things that's hard to put a price on when you need it and it's there, So it's hard to say all of the niches and the personal meaning a game would take on to so many people, but it doesn't have to be. You just think of making the best thing that you possibly can, and to dream of this world, to have confidence in it, to make something that's bigger than you, to make something that's bigger and better than you could ever make on your own. And to be able to think of things like that is what I consider one of my greatest creative gifts and accomplishments, maybe. I don't just dream in what I could do, but I dream and present for creating a foundation for collaboration of what we could do together. Make it awesome. Also throw some emoji design in here, maybe. You wouldn't have to be all the time, but as you do in, a different emote, like, dance moves, different poses, different emotes for different situations. You could also have different emojis, yeah? So that if you couldn't see your character's face, you could see the emoticon that they throw up. Maybe you could link an emoticon to a different pose, and you could choose between both of them to make your own animations. Maybe you could even have effects. Depends, And, it'd be part of the tag of who you become. There'd be superstar gamers that have, like, all of the things. And it'd be, geared to, you could do that if you wanted. There'd be a collector's element and a mastery element that goes on forever. But yet, it would have a full experience for you and your friends. You wouldn't have to be a pro gamer. You wouldn't have to be an elite gamer. You wouldn't even have to play it for hundreds of hours or anything. To have this wonderful experience for your friends. And if you ever wanted to come back to it, whenever you wanted to explore more, there would be more there. There would be more to explore. It's such an expansive game type, okay? Like, I'm presenting for it, but it also just blows my mind. Like, the size and scale, I think you could make practically, limitless worlds in terms of every variable thing. And writing in characters and events and stuff, when you had the base for something, how many variations you could make on that base with modern technology, it's goddamn right endless. Like, those kinds of things where the programming that it takes, the size and space in a game to make individual items and to create for them an appearance is very small. It's very, very small. So with the design and attention to detail, with a blueprint and a map to make this as good as it could be is like, you know, really the sky is the limit. Okay, let's do a little bit of design stuff. Hopefully I haven't tired you out on this project, because honestly, I'm just getting started. This fires me up to no end. And it gets me more excited every time I break into the, you know, concept space and start imagining how things could be. More things come to me. And the more that I learn, the more excited I get. Like the sense of movement that we created, outlining our Digimon game, our Mon game. I was thinking, like, can you really have a different Mon name? It's like, of course you can. Sure you can. But they're supposed to evolve, right? So we could call them Evomon. Evomon? It's not bad. It's kind of catchy. I don't know if we'll call them Evomon quite yet. Working on different, like, creating these gestural patterns. Yeah, this is the build of a lion. We might change it further still to different types of creatures. Just giving an example that, you know, it doesn't have to be like one variety of thing, you know? We can go back to a lion though. I really love the way that the fur is looking here. I spent some time to just relearn and practice a type of graphite shading technique I was doing in the Chrono Cipher designs. I've got a whole bunch of them outlining different characters. And when you have a little extra time to finesse, once you finish the drawing, you can block in shapes pretty quickly and make them dark, and then come in and create like swirls and different layers, and to let it be a little bit abstract, but then to go back into the shapes that you've created in that abstraction and scribbling and add more form to some of them. Like when you see an interesting angle, to throw another parallel line mirroring the same angle, and then to like bring it into a curve or a swirl. And you're creating like these awesome manes and designs. It's pretty cool. We won't spend all night here. We'll come back in and make this a part of a series, you know? No kingdom is made in a day, but the dream for a whole kingdom, or a kingdom shifting move, you know, could certainly be done in a day. It could be done in an instant. We've gone from dragon back to lion. Yeah, I want to at least prove that I can do lion. I do love, as you're practicing something and copying something, some things will not be the same. And if you want, you can change them back to the same, the way that they look in whatever diagram that you're using. Or if you want to, you can follow the differences that have been made kind of randomly for you and think, well, isn't this interesting? And you can explore that. And especially as you're making up new types of creatures, you know, sometimes if you want to learn something and you want to learn it really well, you want to try and practice it as exactly as possible to make that your reflex and your memory. You can tap into that. But other times, you want to explore the creative space and, you know, the progress that you're making, the shapes, the designs, the movements. I'm super excited. I have to send this content to someone. I know there's like the perfect person, the perfect partners out there to help me take on these designs and dreams, and to fund a perfect studio space, and to get the best tools to take this on. People that I have a diverse skill set. you know, to be able to concept design and dream and present for all sorts of things. And, you know, I know I've got a lot to contribute. And we want to get the work out there. We want to be contributing, and we want to be sharing the energy and taking part in making the world as cool as it can be today and forever, you know? Dreamers for life. And we're getting closer. This is kind of a victory lap, you know? After, I don't want to say it all damn day, but that Digimon video is so good. I hadn't rewatched it since filming it, but I knew that it was good when I filmed it. I was like, that's it, you know? We've hit our break with this, you know? This could be huge. It's everything we've worked for and dreamed of. And in that space, it's not everything that we worked for and dreamed of, but it is in the way that it creates a gateway. It creates a space. And I have full confidence in my ability to follow up on that space and to, you know, build something awesome with it. Okay, so if you have one type of enemy, say, you have many types of enemies, but you make a whole bunch of different variations. Variations with different elemental weaknesses, with different attacks, different types of magic maybe, but even different move sets, patterns of movement, ways to attack that might be a bit ambitious, but it's certainly within the power of the designer to, you know, add all kinds of different variations for these different worlds as you explore them, to have thousands of different types of enemies in the variations that they create that populate this world and all of the diverse biomes. And like, if there's an enemy, then there's a large size, different colored, different pattern textured one that shows up specifically for a quest when someone gives you a monster hunting quest. To go back to an area, maybe you have to go back to an area and bait it with a specific type of bait, or, you know, you do research to find out what the hell these things are, and you collect a series of items. You talk to different people, you explore the world, and each time that you do something immersive in the world, the world comes to life. And it comes to life through you. Yeah. All right, this guy's a little gemstone. We should try and do something else, though. Let's see. We will do this fairy. This fairy girl is awesome. It's based on a pose from Witch Hat, but then we changed up the pose entirely. Like, that was kind of a pose from Witch Hat, but then just something that I found on Pinterest. It's like one of the chapters in the 70s of Coco falling through space. Where once you've practiced it and then you understand all of the dimensionality really, really well. Because if you're just looking at a pose, it takes a little bit of this time to learn it. And you're like, okay. Then once you have, it really comes to life very seamlessly, very effortlessly. Let's see, we will have to change this one a little bit, I think. Let's see, what should we do? Different position of the arm and head. Yeah, arms are a good way. Gazing out. Yeah, listen to Kojiwara's Butterfly for us. Yeah, put it on a jam. You don't have to listen to Kojiwara's Butterfly. You could listen to Volbeat. Yeah, listen to Lola Montes by Volbeat. I don't want our video to become copyright limited in any areas, so we won't listen to Volbeat right now. It's so hard. It hurts my heart, but I've got to be strong, you know, for the game world. Okay, sometimes you kind of lose your direction for a piece, and that's fine. You can find it again when you're in just like a space where you're exploring without any real idea specifically of what you want your pose to be. Sometimes you can find really fun poses, other times it'll take a minute and you might lose your pose, and you come back in to find it again and to try different things. Exploration is such a valuable theme. I've had it up to here with all the kids these days being like, everything in the world is mapped out. You know, there's no exploration or discovery. You just Wikipedia for everything. Yeah, and it's at your fingertips. Like, there's no mysteries. I think the world is more full of mysteries than it ever has been. Mysteries and possibilities, and more to discover and explore, more to be interested in. So to make a game that trains towards interest, you know, that creates a sense of interest naturally, you know, by creating an interesting world and not explaining everything, but encouraging you to search through it, you know, to become a part of it, to, you know, take it on, to rise to the challenge and to run the gauntlet, you know? Okay, we'll keep going, and we'll call this here and continue to make a number of videos on it, you know, to stop and think for a time and then come back after some consideration and try and take the next best perfect step forwards, and to immerse ourselves in the fun, the play, the discovery, the sense of magic. You know, you can't just replicate those feelings, but you want to try and do things to capture those feelings and bring them to life in yourself, in the design, as you're writing and planning, you know, to play with it, to have fun with it, to get excited about it. And then you can create the game that you're looking for, that evokes those sensations, that feeling. Okay, clearly I'm still like want to design things. I was like, we'll do a couple copies of some of these awesome designs here. And we could still go back in and be like the Bob Ross of design. It'd be fun to design more things here. Let's fill up a couple more pages for this and other projects as well. The manga and storytelling thing, making comics, has been so fun. Yeah, we don't have to fill up our space with too many things because this is such a victory. This is such a victory right here. Yeah, I want to step into that feeling of accomplishment, you know? And celebrate that fact while, you know, being open to inviting in inspiration for what the best next step forward is, who the perfect person to contact with our ideas, hopes, and dreams. What is the perfect angle for communication and collaboration? I won't go over everything, but I got it in my head. And I have full confidence that we'll find it and we'll hit it. And we'll take that momentum forward. You know, we'll stack victory on victory and build a positive momentum towards, you know, seizing every opportunity to capture every dream, to bring them to life. Oh, this is a cool, again, just like mixing of shapes, getting into the mixing of shapes. If something is crystalline, if it's like woven leaves atop one another, if it's swirling like clouds, like fleur-de-lis type designs. It could be anything. There's so much you can do with texture. Okay. I guess we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for now, and we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it really soon. This has kind of gone between being a concept video to a little bit of an arts video, but I don't have the full. Like, I can infinitely continue talking about arts things. You know, we can infinitely continue talking about arts things and finding designs and direction. But it's nice to have a focal point and be like, we'll go in and highlight these specific parts of design. And considering this isn't a free sketching video, but a presentation for an idea, a dream, a world. And, take a moment to dream with me of what this world could be and how awesome this game could be. If it captures your imagination, wish for it, and to dream this thing to life. That together we dream the world to life, yours and mine. Flaming sword, swirling gossamer hair. There we go. It's a good adventure. It's good enough. Yeah, it's good enough. I love our these moments and images of adventure captured here. Really good. I don't know what else we could do. This samurai character from a different angle, maybe. Love this guy. He's got a version of the Moonlight Sword from the FromSoft series. Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas for things, but we've been getting better and better and better at just going step by step to pick one and focus on it, and to use our abilities to bring it to life and to lead into what's next. Instead of getting lost in ideas, I feel like swimming in an awesome sea of ideas, watching them come to life. There we go. That's the right angle. Because it's angled down, from a downward angle. The shape of the hat is like that. It's like from below, it's like that. Yeah. So from a low angle shot, it's like there's a lot more on that side of the head than there is on the front side. Let's see, should you give a character like a beard? It is definitely a world that is, for the youth, but for everyone, but definitely like encouraging the potential of the youth and the value of their dreams and themselves as limitless creators and explorers that are awesome and deserve the coolest game. The coolest games from everyone and everywhere. Oh, come in with the peace sign. Yeah, you gotta bring in the peace sign. Maybe like arm by the side, like a big sleeve. One side, big sleeve on one side, belting, like side armor, samurai-esque pants, gauntlet, tattoo on the one side maybe. It is just like all kinds of characters from all kinds of places, a meeting place of worlds, world traveling, world hopping adventures. Meeting place of worlds. Meeting place of minds. All right. We'll call it there. Hang loose, keep dreaming, have fun. We'll see you in the next one.